In this video, we're going to talk about surviving family dynamics at Christmas without being triggered. We all have family events coming up, and family are one of the biggest triggers you'll ever experience in your life. No matter how much work you do on yourself, it's so hard to not be triggered when you're around them. And I'm going to explain why. Even after 6-7 years of therapy that I've been in, I still find it hard. And as the spiritual teacher Ram Dass said, if you think you're enlightened, go and spend a week with your family. Right, he summed up perfectly. That is one of the biggest challenges for all of us, and Christmas is a massive time when we like to spend a lot of time with family. Now, I remember one Christmas when I started to make some money in my recovery and started to get my life back on track and rebuild things. I decided this is the first Christmas I kind of had my shit together, so I decided I was going to get my parents a gift. And it wasn't anything super expensive. I think from memory it was an Amazon gift card. I think I brought them like a £20 or £50 Amazon gift card, and I gave it to them. And they basically told me off. They basically told me off and told me that I was broke and I didn't have any money and I shouldn't buy them anything, and that my life wasn't back on track and all of this kind of stuff. Now, at the time, I did have money and my life was back on track and I was working well and things were going okay. They were on the upward trajectory. But they were treating me like the old Luke, like a child, like I was broke and couldn't do this and how dare I buy them a present. And my inner child was so rejected and hurt that I just ran off, left and went to a friend's house and did coke all night and got absolutely hammered. Now I just justified this and was like, this is my own white Christmas, fuck them, I'm just going to go and do this and be by myself. But why do we get so triggered? Now, our family, whether that's our brothers, sisters, parents, they've known us all our life since we were a kid, since literally we were born. Now, they've wound us up and annoyed us, fought with us, laughed with us, cried with us for many, many years. They're some of the longest relationships of our life. Not necessarily the closest relationships, but the longest relationships of our life. Now, as you grow up, that inner child still lives within you. All those insecurities, the truths about yourself that you're avoiding, your doubts, the mistakes you've made over the years, the things you've said you'd do but that you didn't end up doing, your drinking and the impact that's had on your family, all of that is in your subconscious. All of that is there. All those little landmines are all planted from your growing up, and it's just deep in your subconscious. But the thing is, you're now an adult, right? And you're going into these situations as an adult. But your family are consciously or unconsciously poking and prodding all of your buttons, standing on all those little landmines, sometimes intentionally and sometimes unintentionally, but they also know where all of those little buttons are, right? Because they've been pressing them all your life and they know where all those landmines are. And like I say, intentionally or unintentionally, they're definitely stepping on them. So even the buttons and triggers are so intertwined, they're even intertwined with your family members, right? You may trigger them, they may trigger you. There's just different dynamics and things that have happened all throughout your life that becomes very complex and intertwined. But the thing is, you're not the same person as you were when you were a kid. You don't spend every day with your family now. You don't live with them. They don't see you grow. They don't see you change. They don't see you necessarily in these different environments. So they have a bit of a different perspective. Who they see you as in the here and now is not necessarily who you are, because they may transfer that past version of you onto the you that's there at that Christmas event. They've not seen you make the changes. They don't see you grow. They just see the old you and not the new you, They have not seen the changes you make. My family haven't seen me necessarily make all of these changes at such a deep level as when they're around me every day as a kid. Now I'm grown up, I don't live with them, I live by myself. I have done for many, many years. And they just see the old me and not the new me. My family doesn't know what it means to be in therapy for 70 years, what kind of growth and change happens over that time. They don't know what it's like to counsel clients every day and work with clients every day, and to make the money I make now, and to have the life I have now, and a partner, and all the different things that happen on a daily basis in my life, they don't get to find out. They don't, understand all of that stuff. They don't see it, not from any malicious way, but just because they're not in my life so much as they were when I was a kid. And to my family, I will always be little Luke, or the little brother, or the youngest brother. And even though I'm nearly 30, that will always be the case, little Luke, or I'll be the Luke that gets that £1 and spends it all on sweets in the shop, right? They will still see those different parts of me. And you'll see this reinforce yourself by the stories you hear at Christmas, right? The stories are great, but most of them are about the good old times, the good old days. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it can bring up emotions that we don't necessarily want to feel, or haven't felt in a long time, or that can be really, really triggering. So now to the most important question: how do we actually get through it without drinking too much, without turning to drugs, without having some big arguments and all blowing up and creating massive ruptures in the family? Firstly, take non-alcoholic drinks for yourself and set yourself up to win to social events in general. Have a look at some of the other videos on the channel about how to manage social situations, and make sure your social principles are put in place before you even go to the social event, planning ahead. Now, one of the most important ways to plan ahead is to set your expectations and manage your own expectations. Understand that you're going to be triggered. It's part of the journey. It's part of the process. They will piss you off. They will trigger you. And that doesn't mean you've failed, or that you need to have even more therapy, or that the tools you're learning are shit and they're not working. Doesn't mean that you need to go and drink. It's normal, and it's okay to be slightly triggered in these situations. Like I said, based on the family dynamic, it's just bound to come up. Next, have clear boundaries. Decide in advance how long you're going to stay there. Be prepared to leave if you feel too uncomfortable or triggered. Have an exit plan, and make sure you just do your best to stay really boundaried up and take care of yourself. Also, write a list of who you are. Write down in the notes on your phone just a few changes, 1 to 5 things that you've changed that you're happy about. That is your new identity that you enjoy, that you like, so that when your brain gets pulled in a different direction by your family, you can actually stay on track and stay focused and bring yourself back to your center and really ground yourself. Have supportive friends who understand the journey you're on, who understand the new you, who you can call and talk to, who will remind you, oh yeah, your mum said this, your brother said this, your dad said this, that's okay. This is who you really are. This is who you are in the here and now. And they'll really help ground you in the present moment. And also be in a good place before you go. Do a meditation, journal, exercise, talk it over with your therapist, ground yourself through the 5 senses and really focus your attention, and be in a good place before you go. Don't be stressed and rushed and triggered and all of that stuff before you even turn up. That's setting yourself up to lose. Make sure you set yourself up to win. And lastly, I want to end on to remember it's only once a year, right? Yes, it's going to repeat that next year, but it's only once a year. And then you can leave it to the next year. It's okay. You'll make it. You'll get through it. And you can come back next year. And from me and all the other counsellors and the team at Lisa Inside Addiction, Merry Christmas, and hope it all goes well.